3, 2, 1, here we go. Welcome back, Last Breath listeners. Gosh, it's good to be back. Thank you for tuning in. You know, just like herpes, you can get me to go away, but I will never be gone forever. And I am pumped to kind of have a little bit of fire lit back under my ass and get things cranking here for you. I just want to give a shout out to some people who have been supporting me even while I've been hustling in the shade. And, guys like Cody Jenkins, Mike Lemansky, my dad, my father-in-law, just there's a lot of good men, my Colorado family that just have been helping me push through, and my wife, dude. I'm serious. I don't know how I got so lucky to buffalo her into marrying me. She is an amazing person, and she's damn sure the best woman that I know. But today I'm gonna just fill you guys in on where I've been, what I've been doing, and what's to come. And I think you guys deserve that. So here we go, episode 185. I'm going to do something new, and I'm going to try to do this every podcast here. I do have one pre-recorded, so the next podcast will be without this cool little thing. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to just read a quote to you guys at the opening of every podcast. And I don't know why, I've always really enjoyed quotes. I actually have a book that I write them down in when I find one that I really like that inspires me or that resonates with me. And so today's quote of the day is, "The same pot of boiling water that turns an egg hard will turn potatoes soft." And what do I get out of that? Is that, dude, we're all in boiling water. We're all in hot water. And are you going to be the egg where it toughens you up? Or are you going to be a potato where it turns you to mush? And I think that speaks a lot to me, because it doesn't matter where you're at in life. You just automatically know that you're going to be in hot water sometime. You can't just rewrite in the high life for your whole life. That's impossible. In fact, there's a theory called the opponent process theory. That means if you're having a good time right now, you're guaranteed that will end. And if you're having a bad time right now, you're guaranteed that will end. But long story short, just when you're in hot water, don't let it turn you to mush. Learn from it, grow from it, and get hard. I'm not David Goggins, by the way. That's not the whole point of this. I am not some fitness influencer. But as always, you know what we got to do. We got to thank the people that make this podcast possible. I'd like to thank Moultrie Mobile for being a sponsor of Last Breath again this year. I've been working with those guys for such a long time. And in fact, Moultrie was the first company that really took a leap of faith in us. Proud to be working with them again. And in fact, the next episode is going to be with Mark Olis, where we're talking about, I think, some of the most iconic product launches that they've had in a long time. Next is Tompkins Taxidermy. You already know that Michael Daniel and Wayne Tompkins over there do top-notch work. I mean, it's astounding. And their bread and butter, their ballywick is ungulates, so shoulder mounts on deer, full body mounts on deer, elk, mule deer, etc. But they do bear, bobcats, and all kinds of other stuff. In fact, you're going to hear about my hefty taxidermy bill that I have from them this year. Dark Knight Outdoors is another great partner of the show. Jamie Hoffman over there knows everything about thermals. We have thermal season coming right around the corner here once we get done with deer season. If you're in the market for anything night vision or thermal related, I'd give them a call. I think you're going to be super impressed with the experience you get. And last is Pulsar. Been working with Pulsar now for a couple months, been trying out some of their units, and I've been really impressed. I think Pulsar not only has a very good high benchmark for what is standard in the thermal industry, but their app is incredibly easy to use and really helps set some of their scopes apart. So, that's a 2-for-1 right there. If you're interested in a Pulsar, I'd reach out to Dark Knight and see what they have. All right, now let's get into this. Today it's just going to be me, and I think, being honest, I really want to stick to more of the in-person style podcasts. And don't get me wrong, I've got a new board and I've got some things figured out now after doing some testing that I think any of our call-in listeners, we shouldn't have near the issues that we have, at least on my end. This new board is very nice. It allows me to do a lot of manipulation to each individual tract, and even as they're calling in on the fly, do some things like de-esser and denoise in case they're driving and there's some background noise or what have you. But I just think for honesty, in general, just to get the best quality podcast, it's best to get somebody in the studio, come over, hang out in the shed, and get them on the horn. So I'm going to try to do that. And in that vacancy, you're going to get more of me. And I'm going to twist the hunt cast a bit and try to dial into some of the more informational style ones when it's just me in the studio talking to you. I've become, I don't want to say a jack of all trades, but I've adopted so many little niches that I do, things such as like reloading, specific hunting tactics, gear that I use. I'm an absolute gear geek. I don't know why I've always been that way. And when I get bit by something, I almost become a little bit of an obsessionist. So I want to share that with some of the listeners. If you guys have any topics that you want to hear me talk about, firearm related, hunting related, archery related, any of my experiences out west or down south related, go ahead and shoot me a message either to the page or to my personal page, and I will add that in the Rolodex happily. So what have I been doing, right? So it's been since spring. The last podcast launches with Cody and Mike when we had Mike down here to kill a turkey. God, that was such a freaking awesome hunt. Mike never reaped a turkey before, and I know there's a lot of people that have a lot of opinions on that, and you can just do you, man. But I'll tell you what, if you ever get an opportunity to crawl up on one, you'll get what we're talking about. And that's just a cool memory. I get to store. I got the photos from that and the video from that. And so that last podcast since then, came the summer, and a lot of things have changed. Last Breath, as far as a team-based company, has really shifted. Most of the members have families. Most of the members have other passions that maybe they want to pursue, and so they've taken their leave and wish them the best. Absolutely want to wish them the best. Whether they're riding dirt bikes or doing other extracurricular activities or focusing on their career, whatever it may be. I hope that they get everything they want out of it and they absolutely kill it in that field. And I think they will for the most part, because when you're driven to do something, that's when you do your best. Because when you're unmotivated, it's really hard to put out a quality product when you're not motivated to do it. And so I think there was a little bit of conflict in the last season where, I'm not saying that some of the members don't enjoy hunting. They do, but I don't think it was really that thing that just drove them to keep going. And so I'm glad that people are pursuing what really does that for them. Because for me, at least right now in my life, it's damn sure hunting, shooting, love fitness. I fucking love paintball too. I'm not going to lie. If I could play every day, I probably would. But you got to kind of pick your poison there, because all of those are not cheap. And so number one still reigns true is hunting. And getting into that now, so Cody Jenkins is still going to be filming a lot. Allie and Logan are going to be filming a lot. There's potential for some other guys to be submitting some film for the show that I'll be editing, but keep a lookout, because whatever stuff we do capture is going to be produced and put out. So we've got a couple kills on turkey season. I had a really cool hunt with my wife. Obviously, I had that hunt with Mike. And then I also have a couple cool hunts of Logan and Allie from the year past that I'll be putting out for next season to get everybody fired up for turkey season. And as far as this fall goes, boy, I really hope that we can get some stars aligned. I've got a venue lined up for potentially launch party again next year. I've gotten a lot of messages and inquiries about that, and it's just not going to happen. That is a very expensive, very time-consuming thing that I used to do. And last year it was all on me, and it was not a possibility for this year. So I'm sorry about that. I know that there's been a lot of people that have been wanting to go to it and miss attending it. And I get why. Completely free event where you get free beer, free gear, thousands of dollars of free gear, awesome taxidermy show, and a hunting film festival to boot. That's something I'd miss too. But anywho, let's get into some stuff this year that's also different. Some of the partners that we have changed, and some of those partners I'm still going to use their gear because I really believe in them. I think that's one of the big things that I pride myself in, is that early on, when we were starting out, way back when it was JAG, there's opportunities to work at all kinds of different companies at all kinds of different levels. And you really are just star-eyed, and you grab for anybody that wants to work with you. And really quickly you begin to learn that there's products out there that are they're just not meant for me anyway, and I feel like that they were gimmicks. And very quickly you kind of can see the writing on the wall, and you understand that you're designed to help influence sales. I get that. That's what an influencer is. That's what a pro does. But you have to decide whether or not you're going to just chase a paycheck, or if you're going to stick to your guns and endorse and use products that you truly believe in. And so for the last 10 years, Last Breath, the team, and myself have been doing just that. So NAP was a great sponsor and a partner, and I think that they still make quality broadheads. But this year I am changing it up. I have no affiliation with either of these two companies, but I have shot the Exodus broadheads, which are made by QAD, in the past, and I have been nothing but incredibly impressed with them. I love the design. It's a 3-blade design. It's got a trocar tip. It's super hardened, and I like the angle of the blades, and I also like the fact that the blades recess past the arrow shaft itself. And what does this do? This shortens your overall build, keeps your FOC higher, and it allows your arrow to stabilize better. And I just have had a ton of luck with those, and I'm shooting those. I've got those in my quiver, and I'm also shooting mechanical as well. So for a long time, if I had one broadhead in my quiver, it was one broadhead only in one type, kind of OCD, if you will. And I want all my arrows to look the same, all my knot colors to be the same, fletchings, you name it. But this year I'm going to have a combo. I'm going to have some fixed heads, and I'm going to have some mechanical heads. And I guess it's just really to play with it. I'm going to kind of be a little bit of a bloodlusty year for me. I'm going to shoot quite a few does, and I'm going to hopefully be able to get a little redemption with my archery equipment here this fall. But the mechanical head I'm shooting is actually the 1.75 Sever heads. And I can just tell you right now, if you haven't ordered a Sever head, the presentation is it's impressive. It grabbed me kind of right out the box, pun intended. So they ship you a box, and inside of it are individually wrapped, very well packaged, very well, just like I said, presented broadheads. And so the 1.75s were intriguing to me. I've always usually shot around a 2-inch expandable. I think anything bigger, you really run into issues with being able to pass through, or blade strength, things along that nature. Where there's a tipping point where there's, I think, too big of a head. And so the 2-inch is what I've always tried to stick around. The 1.5 I know it's a good cut, but I know that I'm pulling enough, and my arrows are heavy enough that I can do more damage than that. So this 175 kind of just resonated with me as the sweet spot. And I think it's really cool too is that you can take these, they come with a set screw, tap it into your broadhead, and you can make it a practice head. It does not damage the blades. The only thing you need to do is take that set key out, obviously, when you're ready to hunt with them, and just make sure you don't have any foam or any debris from your foam target in the blades. But they fly like darts. My Exodus heads, I've shot those out to 45 yards, and those fly like darts. I feel like anything further, I would probably prefer to have that Sever on, just because you have way less chance of any issues when you get in those further ranges with the mechanical. But those two heads are what I'm shooting this year. I'm pretty excited. I think that more than likely the first animal I kill will probably be with the Severs, just because of the scenario. And speaking of scenarios, that's going to dovetail right into my first hunting trip of the year. So I've been applying for Colorado points, Montana, and Wyoming points for several years now. It can get, I don't know, I don't want to say expensive. It's definitely a cost, because in all these states you have to buy like a small game license in order to apply for your points. The points cost money too, so it's not like you just $10 here, $10 there. But if you want to get in the Western game, points are everything, unless you just have a ton of money and the state in which you're going to go hunt in has any type of land voucher that you can attempt or try to purchase from a landowner or an outfitter. And that gets very expensive. So I've had points saved up for mule deer in Colorado, and talking to Robert, my buddy out there, he, same if he were to ever come back here, he knows Colorado really well, and he recommended that I apply for a unit that he thought I would draw in. And you put in for it, and you're not guaranteed non-resident, and the residents get picked first. And lo and behold, I was able to draw the tag, and I am going hunting in Colorado. And it's actually, this podcast is going to drop on the 5th. So, I will be hunting 1 month from when this podcast launches, which is crazy. I've been able to hunt early before when I've gone out west to chase antelope with a bow and arrow, but that's kind of different. This is going to be for most likely a completely full in velvet public land mule deer, and it's going to be in a unit that's mountainous. So we're going to be in the high country, and it's going to be a scenario where we're packing in. We're going to have camp on our back. I spent the money and bought a really nice Kifaru pack, and the frame, the belly belt, the straps, you name it. I've got a couple auxiliary pouches, because when you decide to go on these types of trips and you do it unguided necessarily, and you're living out of your pack, the day packs that we use as whitetailers just doesn't cut it. Not only for volume, but more for support. And I didn't realize this until I went out west and I started to hunt out there, and really until I went on the mountain goat hunt. And I realized, like, man, I've got about 70 pounds on my back, and it's not killing my shoulders. It's not killing my low back. And it's really has a lot to do with the frame structure and how you can shift the load and alter that pack to make it work better for you. So I made an investment. Those Kifaru packs are not cheap at all. I went with a Ma Deuce pack. It's a fairly large expedition style pack. It has a lot of compartments that was attractive to me. It has a meat shelf, which is awesome. And it's really should be the last pack I'll ever need for any type of hunts like this. So I didn't buy one a couple years ago after that goat hunt. And if I would have bought it then, I would have probably saved myself several $100s, but that's just how it goes. So ponied up, got that pack. And given the fact that we'll be out in the mountains, it's probably more likely for me to take an over 40-yard shot than an under 40-yard shot on a mule deer, and that's why I suspect that I'll probably have a sever knocked up for that. Later in October, almost a month from that, I will be meeting up with Mark Olis, and we are going back to Colorado, and we're going to be hunting antelope with our friends at Sandy Hills. There's more details for that on the next podcast with him. We don't just talk about Moultrie gear. We talk about hunting and that hunt coming up too. So you want to tap into that if you want to hear more details about that. And then as far as November goes, I will be sticking it out right here at home. I have got some pretty cool deer that I'll be chasing. My number one for this year is a buck called Chachi, and he's quite impressive. I found a shed last year, have film of him for a couple years, and he's a buck that's not really wide, but he's heavy and he's tall, and he's got some junk going on this year, and he's an awesome deer. And I estimate him to be 5.5 to 6.5 years old. Like I do with all my deer now, I'll send that into the wildlife research lab at deerage.com, and I will have those teeth cementium aged and annuli aged, and I will know exactly how old that deer was. And so he's going to be getting a lot of dedication of my season this year. I've got 2 other spots that I can hunt that are brand new, and it'll be interesting to see what's there. I mean, as of right now, my cameras have been out for only about 2 weeks. I don't get real jacked up about velvet just because I have 1 deer on my wall and 1 deer only that I have ever killed that I had velvet photos of. And the velvet photos of him were far and few and in between. But so I just don't put a lot of investment in that. So I think that the hit list will really begin to start developing probably about the time that I'm out mule deer hunting. And so it'll be fun to hunt those new places. It always is. It just, again, lights that spark. You got a new dirt, new trees, new deer, and it'll be fun to see what's going to be coming up there. Earlier in the podcast, you heard me talk about my taxidermy bill to Tompkins, and holy shit, let me tell you what, I'm keeping the lights on over there. I got those guys completely paid up. It feels really good. I just I don't like having that note out. Fun fact: I've never owned a credit card, and neither has Logan. And so we operate on a pretty good budget, and that budget also allows for me to have a lot of fun spending money. But we obviously we do a good job. We've got good backup funds. We got budgets for house projects. We got budgets for trips and vacations and you name it. And then again, that really goes all to my wife. She's really good about that stuff and making sure that I don't spend all my money on hunting and guns. So um, that being said, at Tompkins right now, I've got Hershey's, which is the deer I killed last year. He was my number one, and it's always humbling. I was just over there for Wayne's birthday, and there's just giants over there. There always is. You think you shoot a big deer until you go to your taxidermist. And Hershey's is not a giant. He's a awesome deer. He'll be the only deer like that I ever shoot. Really is a mainframe like 6-point. He's got some double dagger tines, and he has had a blind eye from the beginning. So Wayne is going to mount him with that blued, bulged blind eye. I got him talked into that. So I've got that coming back. I have a rattlesnake that is over 6 feet long that I had the skin tanned and putting that on a board. I should be getting that back really soon. I just finished up. I took a piece of pine and I edge glued them together. I then tapered it down on the ends to kind of, it's not really an oval because it is parallel on the sides, but it tapers almost like an arrowhead on each end of it. And then I stained it a dark charcoal color. I wanted something that's really going to contrast between the snake skin and the board that it's on. I actually had bought a piece of live edge sycamore, and I was thinking I was going to do something really cool with that. And the sycamore grain was fantastic. There's a little bit of spalting in it, had a lot of texture and movement, and for a tabletop or for some type of furniture piece, gorgeous piece of wood. And I paid a good amount of money for it. I got a little bit of sawdust in my veins from my job, and I do enjoy doing woodworking, making furniture and building cabinets and etc. But after I put the snakeskin on that, excuse me, I'm drinking a Monster. Well, a Red Rain, that's my jam. I'm addicted to caffeine. Never smoked a cigarette, never had a dip in my life, never done a drug that wasn't prescribed to me. But I'll tell you what, if I got one vice, it is caffeine. I'm just a more efficient human when I'm on this stuff. Getting back to that snake, I laid it on there, and there was so much movement in the snake and so much movement in the grain. It didn't do it service. So anyway, that's what I did, and I'll get pictures of that up when it gets done. I'm pretty excited about it. I never had stained wood so dark before, but it turned out perfect in my opinion. On top of that, I have a coyote that I'm having Wayne mount, and it's not like a traditional mount. Wayne and I got hot and heavy into thermal hunting, and I just told him, like, hey, if I shoot a beautiful furred up big male, like, I want you to mount him. And lo and behold, we did that. And I mean, I don't know how many coyotes a ton of coyotes that I've killed, and I've got some pelts hanging up and stuff. But I've always kind of liked the idea of it's not even a shoulder mount. It's kind of like a neck mount type of mount that is the coyote. And I've wanted one for a while. I've inquired a couple other taxidermists about doing them, and Wayne does such a great job on canines and cats that I just pulled the trigger on that. So I have that coming as well. It's a beautiful light colored traditional. It's not like he's strawberry or black or anything like that. Just a big, good looking male coyote. And lastly, I've got 2 bobcats that are going to be coming here this year. My first ever bobcat that I killed down in Missouri, a great big male, tons of fluffy fur. It was super cold. Like, he was all the way furred up. And I mean, there's not that bullet hit him dead center in the chest and just a pinprick of a hole. If you guys remember back then, that was with the 204, and that gun of mine, it's a screaming Mimi bullet, but I mean, it's only 32 grains, and it just stoned him. So his fur is perfect, and he's super big, fluffy. And then the other bobcat was from Texas, And that one, again, is a great big male, but it's crazy how different they look. So the bobcat from the Midwest has much, much bigger fur. You can just see it, you can feel it. He looks fluffy. And the bobcat from Texas has a completely different coloration to him. His spots are super pronounced. His hair is shorter. It's still very full, but it's kind of like the difference between like a September deer and how they look like a racehorse style and like a December deer. When you've seen those early season mounts, you know how they have that reddish tint, they're slicked up compared to like those bristled haired giant bodied bucks that you see getting killed in November and December. And so those are both my first two bobcats that I've killed. I shot that second one with my 224 Valkyrie, my thermal rig, and it didn't tear it up bad. You know, I probably have it was a $50 sized exit. It was broadside when I shot. The entrance side, just a little prick, but that one did exit, and Wayne has no worries about being able to fix that up. But what I'm going to do with those is the one bobcat, since there was some snow on the ground, I'm going to have him on some snow habitat. And I think the best thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to have him coming down, like downwards, walking downwards on the habitat. And the Texas bobcat, I'm going to have him climbing upwards. And I'm going to do like a Texas style themed habitat. Maybe have a sprig of cactus in there, or a little bit of sand, because where we were down in Texas, I mean, it was the desert, dude. It was mesquite and cactus, and that's it. So I am going to be eating up some wall real estate. Logan is not too tickled about it, but luckily for me, I've got my man shed, and it's just going to continue to get filled up with all these memories of mine. And that Wayne and Michael are helping me preserve forever. So that being said, there's really not a whole lot left that I'm going to chew your ears off about today. This podcast is going to be kind of shorter and sweet, but just know that there's more to come. You're going to see a change on social media. It's going to be more of instead of it being the high-end photography and videography, which I'm still doing, and actually this summer I've been pretty busy doing freelance work for clients, both with video work and photo work. But I'm going to give you guys more of the real feel. And I'm going to try to do a better job of putting the social in social media. I've never been one to live on that and to try to really expose myself and what I'm doing, but I'm going to try it. I'm going to do my damnedest to get better at it. So you'll see that it's going to be more real time stuff, more real time stories, and not so much of the well-rounded, high-quality content that you're typically going to see. Now, that being said, you're damn sure going to get that, because I'm going to sprinkle that stuff in. I don't go anywhere without my camera, but I'm just going to try to give you guys more of those live updates. So that being said, again, thank you for everyone who's been sticking around. The people in the inner circle and everybody's reached out to me asking, hey, where you been? What you been doing? X, Y, Z. I'm still here. I'm still kicking. I'm still hunting and killing shit left and right. I've been building guns like a maniac, and I think here in a little bit too, I've got some awesome news that I want to share with you guys. I got to keep it under wraps right now. It is in the works. I got something I've been wanting to do for a very, very long time that I'm finally doing, and so I'll leave that cliffhanger here before we exit. But I'll catch you on the next one. Thank you for tuning in, and as always, don't waste it.